Hello, welcome back to Hazel Jane Tarot, and today I'm doing a hashtag cliche tarot reader, which is a VR to Anna at Astral Lady Tarot. So this is a really fun list of some of the cliches that tend to apply to tarot readers and to talk about like whether you do those things or not. So not to be taken too seriously, no criticism intended of any of these things. I mean, they're cliches because, you know, we all do it, or a lot of us do it, right? So I really enjoyed Anna's initial video and I've watched a bunch of VRs to it already, and so I thought I would have a wee chat about some of my responses. So the first prompt was, you own more than one version of the same deck. Guilty of that cliche. And the one I actually have the most copies of is the Wenn Tarot. So the Wenn Tarot by Joanna Powell Colbert is like my favourite deck, and this is the first version that I ever had. This is the Schiffer version, and it's lovely. It's fine, but the cards are big and shiny. And when I came across the Llewellyn version in a shop, just by chance and at like retail prices, like not at out of print prices, I was over the moon. So I got a new copy of the out of print Llewellyn edition, which is much nicer. The cards are thinner and they're a bit smaller. And this would be the main copy of this deck that I would tend to work with for readings. And I kind of kept the larger cards for, you know, if I was doing a focus. Like there was one year I really wanted to bring in a particular energy. I think it was the Sun card from this deck. And I just had the Sun card from this version just on display all year in my house. So this isn't a deck that gets worked with. But then I ended up buying, which was sort of not really my normal style, I ended up buying a third version of the same deck. And that is the independently produced version, which is a limited edition. As you can see, I got 985 out of 1,000. I read on Joanna's newsletter that the deck was not going to be available for very much longer, and because it is my absolute favourite, and this was sort of the original way it was presented when Joanna self-published it at the beginning, I thought, well, I'll try to get that copy too. So that was a bit of an indulgence, and that was more, you know, more as a collector's item really, because I love the deck so much. That's the little organza bag it came in. I might get something else for that in due course. But so I have 3 copies of the Wenn Tarot, 3 different editions. And I also have, surprise, surprise, more than one version of the Rider-Waite-Smith. Somebody, I can't remember whose video it was I watched, but he said sort of this is the Smith-Waite Centennial Edition is almost like the classic deck that everybody has. I had bought 5 or 6 tarot decks before I decided I wanted to get a deck for study purposes. And I watched, I think it was on Simon at the Hermit Cave, a bunch of videos comparing different versions of the RWS before I decided on this one because I like the colouring of it the best. And it's lovely, lovely deck, nice cardstock. Never read with it because I tend not to read with the RWS at all. But then I came across this last Halloween, which is a Blushing Fool blue box vintage deck, which I got in a charity shop for a reasonable price, but you know, it wasn't cheap. But I really like this version. I like the shades of blue and everything in it. And I have read with this actually, as you can see, it's not in order, whereas this one just sits in order. So I do have more than one version of the RWS, but I don't have any ambition to like collect more vintage decks or anything. I think I'm quite happy with this little find on its own. And the other deck that I have more than one copy of, or edition of, is the Spirit Keeper's Tarot by Bennebelle Wenn. So the Spirit Keeper's Tarot, I was following Bennebelle Wenn on social media. She's one of the first people I came across in the sort of tarot tube world. And when she started working on this deck, I was really excited about it. But unfortunately, the way the initial print run was done for the first edition, I wasn't able to get a hold of that. It sort of sold out before I got a chance to order it. So whenever the Vitruvian edition came out, I ordered it really promptly, and I loved it, and I have worked with it a fair bit. But I got an opportunity. I'd always regretted not getting the first edition, and it was selling secondhand for very high prices, which were sort of a bit beyond my reach. But then I did get an opportunity through the lovely Julie at Peekaboo Rose, and she heard that I was like really gutted that I had never got the original black and white edition. And because Bennebelle was bringing out a 3rd edition, Julie offered to sell me her copy. So I was absolutely over the moon about that. And now I have this very treasured 1st edition black and white Spirit Keepers Tarot. Am I getting the 3rd edition of the Spirit Keepers Tarot? Yes. Yes, it's on pre-order. So I will be getting it at some stage whenever they arrive. So those are the 3 decks that I have more than one copy of. But do I have backup copies of decks? No. I haven't bought any second copies of any identical editions or anything like that. I don't really have the storage, to be honest, to have extra copies of decks. And because I have, I mean, I suppose one of the other cliches of tarot, being a tarot card reader, is having loads of decks. I mean, I have about 45 tarot decks, I think, at the minute. And, you know, I don't get using any one deck enough to wear it out so that I would need a backup copy. So that's just not really a concern for me now at all. Do I have any tarot tattoos? No, I don't have any tattoos at all. I would like to get a tattoo someday, but so far, too chicken, and it hasn't happened. Do I drink tea? Yes, I do drink tea. Here is my tea. So I don't know, can't you really see the front of the mug? It says, I heart tea. Now, this one thing where I'm not a typical cliche tarot reader. Let me have a wee drink. It seems to me that a lot of the tea drinkers in the tarot community are like, have all these exciting different flavors of tea, and you know, they're always sampling new things. I don't know if it's because I'm Irish or just because I'm boring, but give me a bucket of builder's tea and I will be perfectly happy. I don't know internationally what this type of tea retails as, but here it's just tea, you know, like just tea. It's not English breakfast tea, it's just tea. A little bit of milk, no sugar. I'm a tea drinker all the way. So don't drink coffee. I did read a book way back when I was first starting to learn tarot. I'd read something somewhere that said that you should never, like when you were reading tarot, you shouldn't use any stimulants at all, like no tea, no coffee, no alcohol. And I just think it's funny that so many people drink tea and read tarot, although of course a lot of them are drinking caffeine-free tea. But anyway, I don't have any particular ritual with like making a cup of tea before I read or anything. I just drink a lot of tea anyway, so. And moving on to the next prompt, crystals. Yes, hello, here are some crystals. In terms of actually with my tarot practice, these are the crystals that are hanging around my tarot table at the minute, or where my tarot deck is. So I tend to have a deck out on display that I'm pulling cards from on a day-to-day basis. And this selenite rod sits on top for cleansing that deck on an ongoing basis and sort of keeping the energy around it clean. I have a pink rose quartz chunk that sits next to it to try to keep sort of you know, positive intention and harmony in terms of my readings and how they affect my interactions with other people, whether it's me reading for someone else or reading for myself. And then I have the labradorite for enhanced sort of psychic connection. This is a new labradorite palm stone that I've just got. I've had, you know, I swap out the stone that I use in that position. You know, I've used amethyst as well, and different stones that have that sort of property. But at the minute it's this new labradorite. Isn't this so pretty? And yeah, I'm a bit of a magpie with stones. I mean, this green moss agate sphere I just bought on holidays there. If I go to a new town and there's a little magic shop or, you know, holistic shop, I tend to want to always buy something to support the shop. And yeah, that's my excuse and I'm sticking with it. So I would tend to pick myself up a wee treat when I'm in a shop in a new town. So I picked up this green moss agate in Derry a couple of weeks ago. And then when I was in Westport last week, I bought this selenite little bowl, which I'm using now as a little cleansing station for, you know, if a stone has been getting a lot of use, I can pop it in there for a bit to cleanse it. You know, that's just a couple of things that were sitting immediately. I have lots of other crystals put in different places around the house, and I would also tend to, you know, have a box of crystals in. I think I have a video actually on my channel if you're interested in reading a bit more about, or seeing a bit more about what crystals I have and what I do with them and so on. You can see that in my video playlist. Okay, so what was next? Somebody had brought up about letting other people touch your cards. I am not too precious about that. If I'm with a friend, if I'm out in a cafe or something, I would tend to be a wee bit more careful about, you know, letting them handle the cards and put them on the table and stuff, because it might not be clean. But if I'm at home, or, you know, I mean, I'll just hand over the deck to a friend to shuffle. That's not a big deal to me. I like to fan out when I've decks sitting out. My little daughter has got interested in seeing the pictures, so sometimes I fan out the decks and let her pick a card for my card for the day. Or if I get a new deck, I'll hand it to my partner and let him thumb through it and look at it. So I'm not too precious about people touching my decks, but then sometimes it can get a bit, depending on the situation. I think if I read for the public, I would be more careful about what deck I was bringing into that situation if people were going to be touching it. Tarot books. Yes, cliche, guilty of. I have lots of tarot books. Again, space is an issue, so I don't have tons and tons. I've just picked up a couple to show you. I bought that last year and I've quite enjoyed that one, Tarot Reversals, because I was wanting to really focus on bringing reversals into my practice and thinking about all the different things reversals can mean. So that's a good reference book, I find. And Mary K. Greer, you know, is a legend. Another legend, Rachel Pollock. This is a great book. That's one I've read from cover to cover. Jamie Alford's Tarot Inspired Life. This is fab. There's so many good ideas in this book. Of course, I have the enormous Holistic Tarot by Bennebelle Wenn. And that was a book that I did quite a lot of work with when I first got it. Haven't looked at it in a while, but it's such a great book. I mean, I've all tabs in it and everything. So yeah, I mean, I have another half dozen or so tarot books on the bookcase, but I just grabbed those ones to show you a few examples. But yeah, if I had more space, I'd probably have more tarot books, let's be honest. And just generally, somebody had mentioned that the tarot readers tend to read a lot just anyway, just reading for pleasure. And while I don't read as much as some, like Katie Flowers always blows my mind how many books she manages to get through. Then she does work in a bookstore. But yes, I mean, I did English literature for my university degree. So yeah, I love reading and I read a lot too. So tick for that cliche. Shuffling. So yes, I do really enjoy shuffling, but I tend not to ruffle shuffle too much. This deck is a perfect deck to shuffle. This is Spirit Keeper's Tarot. One of the things I love of shuffling, people were talking about, you know, like the sound it makes. See that sound? I don't know if it's an ASMR thing or what, but that lovely sound of the gilding against this pure matte cardstock. Oh, it's just delightful. I don't tend to sit and just shuffle. You know, some people are saying they would just sit and shuffle while they're watching TV and stuff like that. But I do enjoy shuffling. Riffle shuffling is something I am just trying to get the hang of. And I think it has taken me to get a deck that is really bendy to try riffle shuffling. This is the Wheel of the Year Tarot. And let's see if I can manage it. Oh, come on. I watched YouTube videos on how to riffle shuffle. And once I've started to get the hang of it, yes, it is supremely satisfying. And I do like doing it, and I'm trying to practice on a deck that I don't mind knocking about a bit, like the Wheel of the Year Tarot, before I try doing it on, you know, precious babies like the Spirit Keeper's Tarot. So there's even somebody who's, you know, it's the feel of the cardstock, it's the sound of them shuffling, but it's also, some decks even have an amazing smell. I know somebody, was it Julie at Peekaboo Rose, talked about sniffing the decks. The Afro Goddess Tarot Arcanas has the most amazing smell on that cardstock. So yeah, I like the whole tactile experience. Tick. Anna mentioned fairy lights. No, don't have any fairy lights sitting around. Candles, not so much with candles either. I'm not really into a scented candle. I never buy them for myself. Sometimes I get them as gifts. I forget to burn them. Not really a candle ambiance person. And incense, again, don't really burn incense. I have a young child, as you know, and I don't know, I find personally the smell of incense a bit choking. So I tend not to burn like joss sticks, you know, that kind of stuff. But what I do like is essential oils. So I have a box here in the room with all my different little essential oils in them, and I have a couple of those plug-in vaporizers, and I have recently got one of those little, you know, ceramic dishes where you can light a candle and it puts the scent around the room that way. So I much prefer using essential oils to candles or incense, although of course there's tea lights in my essential oil burner. And I would have a few, you know, spell candles and things like that, but mostly I'm not so much a candle person. Do I have a designated reading spot? Kind of. The kitchen table, if that counts. No, I don't have, like, my house doesn't allow for me to have a special room or a special table that's just for reading. So no, I don't have that. I just rock up to the kitchen table when I get some peace and quiet to do my reading. In terms of reading cloths, somebody mentioned about reading cloths as well. In my videos, I always use this this cloth as a backdrop, and I have one other reading cloth, or two other reading cloths, I think. And I would sometimes bring them out, you know, for a special occasion. Might light a candle as well, bring out the reading cloth. But most of the time, I just pull cards at the kitchen table. Without a cloth. I do check the table is clean first though. But yes, I kind of use my reading cloth for special occasions. I have a couple. Somebody also mentioned about bags, keeping your decks in bags. Most of my decks are in their boxes. And I don't get tarot bags as a matter of just, you know, I know like some people like Lisa at Supportive Tarot, she keeps all her decks in bags and she has all the amazing bags that Peggy makes her. I don't tend to do that. I think when storage space is limited, unless you have a wall rack like Lisa, the boxes are the handiest thing for me, and they mostly look pretty, you know, on the shelf. So I'm perfectly happy to keep my decks in boxes, but some of them get bags because they come in impractical boxes. Like, so this bag was such a find for the beautiful Numinous Tarot. It came in quite a big box, so I just took the guidebook out and I found online this gorgeous little rainbow bag, which is so perfect for it. And I like this shape of a deck bag more than that style of bag, which I find, you know, I have to fold that over, which is a bit less neat, you know, for stacking them on my shelf. And this bag was the perfect match for my Lightseers Tarot. The Lightseers Indie Edition came in like a really annoying 2-part box. And so this bag, when I came across it, the inner lining is so similar. So yeah, and the outside's like the backs. It's gorgeous. So yes, I do like tarot bags, and I do have a few, and I don't have any one maker that I tend to go with all the time. I tend to just sort of have a look on Etsy and see if I find a nice style that goes with the deck that I'm trying to get a bag for, and would do that. So I'd say about half a dozen or 8 of my decks are in bags, but the rest are all in boxes. What was another tarot cliche? Journals. Yes. So my main tarot journal that I'm working with at the minute is this one, and you can see it's just a notebook. It's just a lined. Oh, I just sent my green moss agate rolling all around the table. You know, it's just a lined notebook. And I've stuck, this is the High Priestess from the Painted Tarot. It was a postcard that came with my order of the deck, so I just stuck that on the front to make it a bit nicer. My last journal that I was using, I did try to, I mean, because I love Dawn Michelle at Boho Tarot stuff that she does with her tarot journal. I mean, it's just stunningly beautiful. And, you know, all inspired by her, I have picked up different colours of craft papers and washi tape and stickers, and I have tried, and I've got a little HP photo printer that does little sticker photos, and I have tried, you know, making my, say, my month ahead reading or a week ahead reading, you know, and designing out a page for the month ahead, and you know, crafting out my journal a bit more. But that hasn't really lasted. I did that for a few months this year, but it takes a lot of time, time that I don't always have, and then there's lots of other things that I'm working on. So, and you know, toddler. So this is just a line journal, and I've just made notes of my readings. It's not sexy, so I'm not going to show you. This, however, is a bit more special, and you might have seen I had a sort of video series that I started on my channel, but I haven't quite finished it yet, about this journal. So this is, again, it's just a blank notebook that I bought. It just had plain blank pages, but I was using it to work up my tarot meanings. So, you know, as a way of recording my study of the tarot, and bringing together, and again, this is absolutely not for publication, this is just for personal use. So you can see I've done colour printouts of some of the cards that I really thought were important, and I've stuck them in, and I've put in keywords, all the different versions. So you can see there, that's the Two of Wands, and then I've put, you know, it's in other decks, it's candles and scepters and so on. And then bullet points of the meaning, and then reversed meaning. And then I've got a little section where I've covered over here where I'll go through, you know, how that has applied in my life. There's another one. This is the Five of Swords, or air, or bells. So I've got my keywords, and you know, so some of the content in here comes from guidebooks that went with particular decks, or from my contemplation on a particular card or whatever. So I have started on my channel. I filmed a couple of videos. I think I did the Devil and Temperance, of like the really detailed card explanations, like a tarot study video. And I do want to continue that series. If you're watching this and you're interested in me doing more of that series, do let me know. So sort of deep dives into the cards using what I've done in my tarot journal as a jumping off point. And I've also done a couple of videos on like how I have gone about creating this journal, that are also on my channel as well. There's a little playlist of that. So this is like, I've been working on this for a couple of years. I haven't touched it actually this year. I don't think in 2021 I've added much to this. That little sticker just came from Deja Druid. So I haven't added much to it this year, but that is my big tarot journal, the sort of long-term, doesn't have readings in it, it's just my card meanings, sort of tarot study. A couple of other cliches people mentioned, having like a card holder where you display your cards. So this is what's sitting out on my kitchen dresser today. So this is a little art easel. It's bigger than what I thought it was going to be when I ordered it. I thought it was going to be like the size for one card, but it holds one card okay, but it's a little bit big for one card sometimes. I can put two cards on it, but I have one of those on my altar space and one of those with my sort of deck of the week for my daily card draws. So yes, tick cliche, I do use a little card holder. Another thing that, I don't know if anybody else has mentioned this, but a big cliche I think for tarot readers is that it's kind of a bit of a, once you start, it's like once you pop, you can't stop. Once you start collecting tarot decks, yes, you have multiple tarot decks, but then you start buying things like oracle decks. This is my most recent purchase of an oracle deck. And with oracle, there's so many systems and things. I've ended up with about 45 oracle decks as well, of varying levels of me loving them, because they're all so different, but so different divination systems. I think it's a bit of a cliche of tarot readers that you do end up getting into other divination systems, although to be honest, none so much as tarot. Like I have oracle decks and I do tend to use them. I recently got this pendulum, so I'm just trying to figure out how to use the pendulum effectively in my practice for divination. I got this little deck recently, which is a runes-based deck, and I know some tarot readers have studied the runes. I have not studied the runes yet. I just have this sort of oracle deck version. So that's another, runes is another form of divination, but I'm sort of dipping my very toe in, not really a big runes reader. These are my witches runes. So these are, oh, what is that? These are a set of witches runes that I made myself. I don't know how there's little bits of paper stuck to them. And I did a course. I actually meant to mention when I was talking about the crystals, I did a course in the Tarot Readers Academy Summer School on using crystals with tarot last summer. And I also did a course on witches runes. I had a book already and this kit to make my own witches runes. And then I did Ethne's course on using witches runes and different ways to cast them and read with them and so on. So witches runes is a divination method that I do quite like, actually, to do with tarot, together with tarot. And another system of divination that I've been looking into is Ogham. And again, this is an oracle deck version of Ogham rather than a set of little Ogham branches with the Ogham carved onto them, which would be nice to have. But yeah, I think it's pretty cliche and typical of tarot readers that once you get into tarot as a divination system, you start to look into other systems of divination too. I don't have Thoth, I don't have Marseille tarot decks, but I have some of these other, I have a Lenormand deck somewhere as well. I think with me, with other forms of divination, it's like you dip your toe in, you give it a try. They haven't always stuck, like I never ended up buying more than one Lenormand deck, but I do have a lot of oracle decks. And I think that's all the cliches. So yeah, I pretty much tick all the boxes. Apart from the fairy lights, the backup decks, the incense, the candles, the tattoos. I'm a total cliche other than that. So I really look forward to seeing more of these responses. I think it was such a fun tag. And thank you, Anna. You're great at getting like conversations going in the community. So thanks everybody for watching. I can't believe this has ended up being 27 minutes. I was going to try to make this a short one. When does that ever happen? Never. Okay. Bye.